Hello, 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 and welcome to another Monday and another session of Let's Get Real with Mona. That's me, Mona Naidu. I'm an abundant living coach and a women's empowerment mentor, and also an international speaker, a human behavior specialist, and a philanthropist. So, thank you for being here with me today. And let's get started with today's session. Now, today, what are we talking about? And let's wait for people to come in because it takes a few minutes before everyone else can get in. And please do let me know where you're joining me from. And if you're watching the replay, let us know at the time that you're watching the replay where you are joining us from and, what's going on in your life right now. So before we go into today's teaching, because if you know me, I dive right into the teaching, right? And let's do some niceties. How are you doing? Yes, every week we come together and we notice that there's things that we thought had subsided. Well, we see another rumble in the world. And what does that do? That takes us out of our core. That takes us out of our center. That takes us away from our true essence. And I guess that's why today, the conversation that we're having is all about what makes you feel most abundant. Now, you know by now why I ask questions, because it's in the questions that we get to our truth. It's in the questions that we know what works for us and what doesn't work for us. So it's so important for us to ask questions regularly, because this is just it. We may not feel that we should ask questions. We may not feel that we can ask questions. And remember what many people would say in a room, can I ask a silly question? Right? So immediately we make questions seem as if they are a negative for us. But the truth is this: questions are empowering. Questions open doors that we didn't even know were there. Questions light up our path. So that's why I love asking questions on a Monday morning. How about you? Right? So today we are looking at the whole thing about what makes you feel most abundant. Now, before you delve further into that, when you hear the word abundant or abundance, how do you feel? Right? Because we have to start there before we can go into what makes you feel most abundant. How do you feel just when you hear those words? Now, for some of you, you may be feeling excited, you may be feeling happy, you may be feeling expanded, you may be feeling rearing to go out there and create something new. For others, you may start off feeling excited or happy, and then suddenly there's a slump. There may be some sadness. There may be some fear. There may be some stress. There may be some grief behind that word. Right? So which one is it for you? And whichever it is, it's okay. Because that's what's so important, is that it's okay wherever you are right now. All right? So when we think about this, what's really going on? Because remember, it's just a word. Whether it's abundance or abundant, it's a word. But why does it cause such a reaction in us? Either elation or a deflation of some kind, a negative feeling, as it would be termed. But there's something inside of us that's causing this. There's something happening within us that's causing this. It's not what's outside, because very often we think that it's what's on the outside that's causing this reaction, but it's actually the outside's just a trigger for what's sitting inside us. Now, what happens, right, when we are happy or we sad? We don't really stay there all the time, do we? And it is okay to be happy sometimes and then to not be happy the other times, to be joyful and exuberant and to feel deflated at other times. Today, I'm telling you that it's okay and you have permission to feel however you want to feel. Because if you weren't aware, the closer we get to our abundance, the more aligned we are to our abundance, it's when we actually get to express and experience and feel those feelings that we hide away from. Because even some people are afraid to be happy because they may be judged for it. All right? So we all vacillate between the two. I do. There's some days when I'm feeling really good. And then there's other days when something comes along, something that I have not addressed, something that requires attention, something that needs me to shine the light on it. So we all vacillate between these different states, these so-called positive states and the so-called negative states of being, of the way we feel. Now, what's important for us is to be aware when this is happening and not sit in the slump when we get to that state, and not use it as an excuse not to turn your dreams into reality. But to be aware, and like I said, feel those feelings. Feel the feelings that make you feel like you are in lack or scarcity. Feel those feelings that make you feel abundant. Because until you do it consciously, until you do it with awareness, it's like you're on autopilot. Some days you feel good, and the next days you don't feel good. And then you may not know how it is to get yourself out of it. Now, like I said, abundance is not just about the things we go out and do, like the practical things. You know, like, okay, I want more money, so I've got to go now get another job or get additional streams of revenue in order to have more money. It doesn't work only like that. We have to look at all the other factors, the other aspects of our being that impacts the flow of money, because money doesn't just come to us just in one way. Our abundance, our good doesn't just come to us because we're doing something in direct relation for that to come to us. No, it comes in different ways, and the more you open yourself to that possibility, that's how you align to your abundance. That's how your abundance flows to you. That's how money flows to you. That's how great health comes to you. That's how wonderful relationships show up for you. When you're allowing yourself to actually exist in this wondrous universe that we all are a part of. So, now, I'd love for you to think of some of the ways. Now, if you know me by now, there's different ways that I do things, right? I'll invite you to be open. When I ask what makes you feel abundant, it's like go beyond an intellectual exercise. Look at the actual activities, the actual acts. Because the more we get to identify the specific acts or actions, that's how we get to embody the frequency of abundance. Okay? Otherwise, it's just in our head space and we haven't moved it into our body. Yes, our head is part of our body, but do you know how many of us just stay in the head? You know what I'm talking about, right? We can just stay in our head, but we don't let it move through our body. We don't let it come through into our heart and then expand out into our body. So when I'm talking about acts or actions that can make us feel abundant, now some of you have shared what it is for you, but I want you to start looking at life a bit differently as well. You know, because sometimes we can come from the spiritual space and we can be, in this very state of not connecting with the material aspects of ourselves. And this is very important to align to your abundance. We have to be connected not only to the spiritual realm, but also to the physical, material realm. Because remember, together, that's where the magic happens in our lives. So when I'm talking about the material ways to feel abundant, right? Do you know that when you're having a low day, you can go test drive a car, a new car? Now, yes, we are all out of lockdown, so we can go to places that we haven't really had access to over the last 2 years or so. So we can go out. Imagine sitting in a beautiful car, looking at the features that are on there, feeling the smell of the leather or whatever it is, because leather really is, the smell and the feel of luxury. And what do you think that does? It activates your abundant feeling. So you can go test drive a car, and what can really accelerate that feeling of abundance is you test driving your dream car. So it doesn't matter what the cost is, go and sit in it and watch how you will shift your energy, right? Now, another way to feel abundant is wear jewelry, beautiful jewelry. Now, men, for you as well, this is not just for women. For men to wear a piece of jewelry, whether it is a ring, a bracelet, a watch of some kind, and for women, well, jewelry of any kind, you just activate that frequency of abundance around you. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. But did you realize that little steps like this can shift your frequency? Because remember, abundance is all about the frequency we vibrate. Okay. Now, another thing you could do, and I'm just giving you a few here, is a pamper session. Because remember, until we feel abundant and we do things that expand this feeling, then we don't get to experience the flow of abundance that we desire. So pampering, by the way, is an abundant frequency. It's showing you that you value you. It's showing you that you matter, right? And this is where the connection starts happening to this high vibrational frequency of abundance. Another thing you could do is you could dress up in something that's already in your wardrobe, or you can go get something that makes you feel good. Maybe it's a silk top. Maybe it's a lovely Egyptian cotton shirt. Maybe it's a beautiful wool suit, right? Maybe there's something you put on, a dress that reminds you of your most expansive state. So wear something, or a pair of shoes, right? Wear something that makes you feel good. The other way to feel abundant is to prepare or go out for a delicious meal where you have the best ingredients, you have the most exquisite preparation of the meal. That makes you feel abundant. I mean, are you feeling that right now? Now, that's the material ways. Now, some of the spiritual ways, or what I refer to as the spiritual ways to feel abundant. Now, some of you may be thinking, is that a spiritual way? Yes, because remember, even the material ways I shared with you, when you look at it at its core, at its essence, everything is spiritual, right? And they both coexist in harmony with each other. So when I talk about the spiritual ways, it's about when you give to a worthy cause. Do you know how that just expands your frequency? Well, try it and you'll see, right? When you make time for you, when you make you a priority, even if it's 15 minutes a day, if you can just allocate time for you, once again, you say, I matter. And that's a huge yes to the universe. To say, if this person cares that much about themselves, let me bring some good their way to reward them for their generosity to themselves. Now, the other way is connecting with heart expanding people. Now remember, we can be around people, but you want to be around people or in a community or a course or a program or a retreat where you just feel so full, your heart just expands and expands and expands with the experiences. And I guess that's why I created the Awakening the Sacred Feminine virtual retreat, because you come together with a group of like-minded women and you get to be in an expansive space. Because here's the thing, I create the container for that heart expansion, right? The other thing you can do to expand your feeling of abundance is spending time in nature. Now, nature does not ask you for anything, but nature gives you so much. Nature is constantly giving us so much. So if you want to be fooled with this beautiful, abundant frequency, go into nature. It doesn't matter what you do in your own garden, out in the forest, or out into the mountains, or to the beach, to a lake somewhere. It doesn't really matter, but connect with nature in its true sense. And then for me, the thing that really expands me as well is travel. Well, you may think it's a material thing, but for me, travel is the time when I am connecting where the universe wants me to connect with people, with places, with vibrations. So for me, travel is a really spiritual experience, and it is one of my most expansive, because I get to interact on so many different levels with the gifts from the universe. Like I said, it's people, it's location, it's food, it's immersions, it's nature in that space, it's luxury. And by the way, I speak a lot about luxury and why it's so important to us aligning to our abundance and our true essence in the Awakening the Sacred Feminine virtual retreat. Because until we get to do those things, we sit in lack. Now, I want to share with you very quickly our recent experience, all about feeling abundant. Now, Vis, my husband, won a competition last Thursday for a meal at a restaurant, a Turkish restaurant in a neighboring suburb. And what I felt was that we could redeem this prize up until the end of October. But something said to me, we've got to do it this weekend. So we went yesterday, the 9th of October, and can I tell you what happened on that, at this experience? It was incredible. We were expecting a meal, but what came before us was a Turkish feast. It was unbelievable. Starters, mezes, main course, desserts, and drinks, all on the house. How incredible is that? Now, this incredible experience, right, came about because Venice won the competition. We had this most beautiful dishes presented to us by people who love what they're doing. So it came through in their food. So what was served to us just felt like it was so fulfilling. And we got to meet the incredible people who were part of this establishment, who started the establishment. So notice how many different things, how many different experiences came from that one win. And this is what it's about. When you have a win, how many successes can you get from it? Because that's what abundance is. It's our success. It's our successful interaction. It's our successful experience. It's our successful connection. Right? Now, you may be wondering, all these beautiful experiences came about. How did it come about? Firstly, it was action. Vis taking action to enter the competition. Then us receiving the prize and then taking action to book the experience. And then driving about 30 or so kilometers away to go have the experience, but also going there with an attitude of absolute joy and gratitude that Vis won a gift. Vis won a gift. And yes, if you know Vis and he loves doing his food reviews, this was the perfect opportunity, once again, to go there, have this experience, and then share about this experience with his communities so that everybody can also benefit from what it is that we had and benefited from yesterday. Now, you see, both of us had to take action, right, to bring about this amazing experience. But we also had to be connected to our true essence, which guided us to take the action that we did. Each of us, me, the sacred feminine, Vis, the sacred masculine. Because there's opportunities around us all the time. Abundance is around us all the time. But we can miss it if we're not connected to the feeling of abundance, right? So this is why it's so important for us to express and feel abundance before these things actually come into our space, and to be connected to our true essence. Now, there's times when feeling abundant doesn't happen, right? We can be doing whatever we want to do. We can be doing the affirmations. We can be playing the mantras. We can be meditating, but we just don't feel abundant. Then we go into judgment. So what could be happening? If you weren't aware, check if there's some fear coming about. Maybe you watch the news and they're talking about how the economy is collapsing. You may be sitting in a bit of fear unconsciously. There may be some anger that something happened, or you're angry at someone, someone cut you off on the road. There could be some sadness, right? Busyness is the number one blocker to feeling abundant. So if there's anything you can stop right now, stop being busy and stop telling everybody you're busy, because that is actually holding you in this constricted, small little space. So if you want to move out of that, remove the word busyness and busy out of your vocabulary. And then worry. Now, I know last year when I went into this fearful state because of my mother's ill health and the fact that she sold her house in Durban and just moved up without anybody knowing, I went into a state of fear, not consciously, unconsciously. And that's the most dangerous of all, when it happens unconsciously. Because you see, then we don't know what it is that's actually controlling us. And I was fighting with everybody. So what do you think? Do you think I was experiencing abundance when I was fighting with everybody? No. So be aware. Are you getting angry and then you're fighting with people? Are you fighting and not knowing that you are in fear? Are you showing up angrily, not knowing that you are actually sad about something that happened? So can you see how these things impact us? And that's why in the Awakening the Sacred Feminine workshop, retreat, it's all about us connecting to our true essence. Because you see, until we can stand in our true essence, we're not standing in our core. And if we are not in our core, we are ungrounded. And then every little thing can come around and it can topple us, not just shake us a bit, but completely topple us. And that's why last year, even though all this was happening, even though I was going into these negative states, this lack, scarcity, fear, lack of abundance in my thoughts, I was able to pull myself out of it. It was challenging, I have to admit to you, but I have to keep getting back to my center, because what was I doing? Connecting to my essence. And that's what I invite you to do as well, right? Because the more you do that, the more you connect with your essence, you will see how things shift for you. So whether you're a male or whether you're a female, but for you females, well, you have the opportunity to do this with me on the 5th and 6th of November. You have the opportunity to go on this journey with me. You know, that all-embracing, all-loving, all-knowing part of you that got pushed to the back, pushed to the side, that part of you that wasn't allowed to feel. Because here's the truth, we can only feel abundant when we're willing to feel all our feelings, not just the positive ones, all our feelings. The anger, the sadness, the worry, the stress, the anxiety. We must feel it so that it can be released. And that's what we're actually doing. We're connecting with our true feminine essence. Because remember, as women, we are emotional beings. It's our natural state, right? As human beings, we all are emotional. But men were told to keep it aside. So as women, when we allow ourselves to really feel, we give the men around us permission to do the same. So I'd love to know, what was your takeaway today, right? What is it that you learned about? What is it that you could do to feel more abundant? And what is it that you've learned from today's session that has been keeping you away from your abundance, that has been causing you to feel constricted and in some kind of lack or scarcity in some way? And remember, a lot of it has been happening unconsciously. So I'd love to hear from you. And what I would love is if you would join me. I would love if you would join me at my upcoming virtual retreat, because magic happens. And I'm going to post the link in this, in the comment section of this video, so that you can go read the testimonials from the amazing women who attended my virtual event earlier this year. I would love to have you there, and I would love for you to feel abundant more frequently. Because like I shared, there's times when I do feel abundant. That's most of the time. And there's times when I don't feel abundant either. But I've got to pull myself out of it. So I'd love to guide you through that process. So let me know what value you got from the session today. Let me know what your takeaways are. And let me know what practices you are going to put into practice, what activities you're going to put into practice, and what it is that you realized about yourself that you weren't aware of before that has been negatively impacting your abundance. So until next time, ciao for now.